uterus. This is the same blastocyst, which yellow is the outer cell mass, which is trophoblast, and this blue is the inner cell mass, which is embryoblast, and on one side, which is the embryonic pole or embryonic end, and the other end is known as abembryonic end. The embryonic end, this is known as embryonic pole. Why? Because the embryoblast is on this side, embryo will develop on this side. So it will attach to the wall of the uterus. This is the wall of the uterus which has been magnified. I'll show you this diagram again. This is the uterus here. This is the embryonic pole, and the wall of the uterus is this one. It will attach by its embryonic pole to the uterine wall. This is the same attachment here. And this dipping in is the dipping in of the uterine glands. And now in this case, you can see this dipping in the uterine gland. This hole is the endometrium and the blastocyst with inner cell mass. This is inner cell mass, and the outer cell mass, it is attached to the endometrium. The outer cell mass has the capability to attach, which is the trophoblast. So the trophoblast will attach itself to the uterine endometrium, and soon when it attaches, the cells of the trophoblast in this region proliferate, and they form finger-like extensions, and they form another layer of cells which are the on the outer side of this main trophoblast. Did you get this point? This is the trophoblast, and now the trophoblast at this end, at the embryonic end, shows proliferation, and it forms number of cells which grow in the form of finger-like extension. These are the finger-like extension. Can you make out the finger-like extensions? So there are two groups of the cells of trophoblast, one forming the finger-like extension and the other one which is continuous with the rest of the trophoblast. These are now two groups of the trophoblast at the embryonic pole, and these two groups are now named as the syncytial trophoblast and the cytotrophoblast. The trophoblast now is in two groups at this end. These finger-like cells are known as syncytiotrophoblast. This is very important. And the rest of the trophoblast, which is in yellow all around, is known as the cytotrophoblast. So the trophoblast is now in two parts by the seventh day, and it is when it touches and gets attached to the endometrium. The finger-like are syncytiotrophoblast, and the rest is the cytotrophoblast. These finger-like cells actually dig in, and they cause digging and drag the blastocyst inside the endometrium. That is what is required. Another layer where the inner cells of the embryoblast, they flatten out and they form a thin layer of cells which is known as hypoblast. This is by the end of the first week. So the first week ends by this. The first week traveling through this is the day one when the zygote is formed. Then there is mitosis, 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage, 8-cell stage, 16-cell stage, which is the marula. Now it is 3 days now. The marula is 3 days old. On the 4th day, it enters into the uterine cavity, and within the uterine cavity, blastocyst is formed by the moving of the fluid inside, and the zona pellucida disappears. And there is an inner cell mass, and there is an outer cell mass, and a blastocyst cavity here. The this embryonic pole or embryonic end will attach to the endometrium, and this will cause proliferation of the trophoblast at this end, and the proliferation of trophoblast at this end will create a finger-like extension of cells, and these are syncytiotrophoblast. And now the other trophoblastic cells will be named as cytotrophoblast. Likewise, embryoblast cells will show flattened inner layer of cells, which is the hypoblast. This syncytiotrophoblast is initially on one side. It will grow all around in the second week, right? Another thing which we will see in the second week, and that is during this, there are certain changes within the endometrium, and those changes within the endometrium is known as decidual reaction, or and the cells which are being formed here are the decidua. And what is this? This is now this blue zone which is showing you here. ये endometrium जो है, endometrium here, but in the pregnancy, in the after the first week, this endometrium shows changes. The cells, they proliferate, endometrial cells, and they're laden with the lipid. They swell up, and they are now known as decidual cells. They are highly vascular, vascularity increases, secretion increases. So this is known as decidual reaction, and the decidual cells, the function of this is to provide embryonic nutrition, and it will also give immunological protective zone to the conceptive. So there will be a decidual reaction in the second start of the second week, as soon as the syncytial trophoblast starts eroding. So the implantation process is the first step in the second week, and that is by the syncytial trophoblast along with the decidual reaction in the endometrium. And the syncytial trophoblast, which was initially only on one side, just finger-like extension, as it drags the blastocyst inside, this syncytial trophoblast is growing all around. Can you make out this syncytial trophoblastic cell? There are very different types of cells. You cannot make out the boundaries of the cells. They are multinucleated mass is seen. This is syncytial trophoblast, and this yellow layer is the cytotrophoblast. And the whole of this is now, it is digging and it is being dragged into the endometrium, which is this blue area, in which there are multiple decidual cells are present. Right. So this is the beginning of the second week of the development. The embryoblast with time. Now, syncytial trophoblast is growing, and there is a cytotrophoblast, which is same as in the first week. Now, the another change which take place in this is the formation of amniotic cavity. यहाँ तक समझ आ गई ये बात? अच्छा, ऐसे करते हैं, I'll show you one video here, and then we move to the next stage. मैं थोड़ी देर के लिए इस प्रेजेंटेशन को अभी स्किप करती हूँ, and I'll show you a small video so that you can just refresh the first week. All right, can you see this with this picture of uterus and uterine cavity?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, all right. So we will see this animated first week development, and then we will move to the development of the second week. Now, this is the uterus here, the uterine cavity inside. This is the wall of the uterus, and the inner layer is this, the ovaries, and this is the uterine tube. And you can see this ovum here, and the ovum is now in the zygote stage. And now let's see what happens to this zygote. You'll have a more closer look. This is a zygote, 46 chromosomes, and the cleavage process starts, and it is going to change into two cells. This is the two cell stage. right? And then this is within the 30 hours. And each cell is known as blastomere, and the thick zone outside is the zona pellucida. It is moving, and as it moves, it is dividing. The blastomeres are dividing by mitosis, and there's a 4-cell stage. Then there is going to be the 8-cell stage, and along with it is moving through the uterine tube, the 8-cell stage, and then the 16 cell stage will be there. The 16 cell stage is the marula, and this is going to be, now this is the marula, and marula is moving into the uterus. That is on the third day, and you can see the zona pellucida all around. And as it moves in, the zona pellucida thins out, and a cavity is created with formation and alignment of the cells, the blastocyst cavity, the outer cell mass, the trophoblast, and inner cell mass, the embryoblast. And now it is going to attach itself to the uterine wall. This is the endometrium, and this is the embryonic pole. And the embryonic pole, the trophoblast, will attach itself here, and this is the embryoblast, and the trophoblast will form syncytiotrophoblast, and the cytotrophoblast will be the original layer. And it will drag this inside the endometrium, and it will be embedded into the endometrium, right? This is, and hypoblast will be a layer in the inner side of the uterine cavity of the embryoblast here. This is the closer view of the embryoblast. I'll stop this video and show you the implantation process. This, can you see? This is the how it was seen there. Let's see the implantation process, how this is occurring in this case. Now the same is moving, and you can see the blastocyst here. And now the next, how the finger-like extensions grow and drag the blastocyst inside. Just, I'm going to pause here, and they will zoom this diagram, but I just want to show you the how small is this blastocyst at this time, and the wall is just like a seed, and you can see the small extensions from the trophoblast forming the syncytiotrophoblast. Let's see what happens next. It will erode. Now, this is important point here. They've highlighted this part of the uterus, showing you that this part of the uterus is the posterior part. Posterior means the superior and the posterior wall of the uterus, where the implantation will occur. If the implantation occurs somewhere here, this is an abnormal implantation. The implantation must occur in the posterior and the superior part. So let's see what happens next. And they're going to zoom this zone only. And this is, they have shown you now the closer look of this. This is the endometrium, right? And this is the attachment of the blastocyst here. The blastocyst with the inner cell mass, the embryoblast and trophoblast, and they have shown a green zone here which will form the syncytiotrophoblast and will dig in. Now just watch the layer of the endometrium, the uterine glands, where the decidua is going to form. Now, can you see the finger-like extensions which have grown from this trophoblast, right? This is, इसको मैं थोड़ा सा और फिर दोबारा पीछे लेकर जाती हूँ. ये the finger-like extensions from the trophoblast, they have shown in different color so that you can make out this is the syncytiotrophoblast, and now you have to name the inner layer differently. This will be named as cytotrophoblast. Initially, it is only at the embryonic pole, then it will extend and extend all around. Now see how it grows, and it forms a multinucleated mass. It is digging in and eroding the endometrium and will drag this into the whole of this blastocyst inside. Now, this is the end of the first week, where the embryoblast has also shown another layer on the inside, which is the hypoblast. So there's syncytiotrophoblast, and there's a cytotrophoblast. There is embryoblast with the inner layer of embryoblast known as hypoblast, and this is the blastocyst cavity. Now, see, it is dragging and it is taking the blastocyst inside the endometrium, and the size of the syncytiotrophoblast is also increasing. It will cover all around ultimately. See how it's moving, and it is now almost completely embedded, but there will be a surface defect here, and which will be closed, and it will be healed just like any defect in the body. Now it's inside the endometrium. Now it's inside the endometrium. This is the endometrial glands where the decidual cells and decidual reaction is there. This is the syncytiotrophoblast, and this is the cytotrophoblast here, the blastocyst cavity. And what has happened during its embedding process, as it was moving in, the embryoblast, one layer was a hypoblast, and the rest of the embryoblast cells have also formed a single layer of sheet of cell, and that is actually formation of another cavity within the embryoblast, which is the amniotic cavity, and whole of the embryoblast cells are now two layered. This is upper layer, and this is the lower layer. It is now in the form of a डिस्क देखिए ना, राउंड जैसे बॉल, एक बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट सा डिस्क होता है आपको, just like that it is now a disc, which is, it has an upper layer and a lower layer. Upper layer of the embryoblast, lower layer of embryoblast, and another cavity there, which is the amniotic cavity. Now let's see what happens next. This is the second week. Now these two layers of the embryoblast are known as epiblast and the hypoblast. Now see, it's growing in, and syncytiotrophoblast is spreading all around, and this is the surface defect which was created by the digging in, and it will heal up by the 12th day of the second week. And now see what is happening. This syncytiotrophoblast is now eroding the glands which is within the uterine wall, so that it can get nutrition from this area. Now this is the cytotrophoblast, this is syncytiotrophoblast. The embryoblast is in two parts, epiblast, hypoblast, and this is a cavity which is amniotic cavity, and this blastocyst cavity is now the primary yolk sac. See what happens next. See what is happening in the syncytiotrophoblast. The spaces are being created in the syncytiotrophoblast by the movement of the fluid from the uterine gland. These small spaces are there. This is now the embryo, which is the future embryo, consisting of epiblast here, the hypoblast there, amniotic cavity just lined by the amnion.